Hi, good morning, all. How are we doing today?
Morning, good, thanks.
Morning, all of
Morning,
you.
good, thank you.
Good, good.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning, all. How are we doing today?
Good morning, Miss
Morning,
Ballard.
good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I trust that you all had a productive week and you had an opportunity to study chapter 7. By now, we should have a full overview of risks, and we should be able to answer the questions in the homework or the classwork, and we should be 90% sure if we're going to answer the questions on the final exam on risk, then we should be more than halfway there with the understanding and the comprehension of risk. Is this correct, Gwen?
Yeah, you are correct.
Okay, good. So Gwen said so it is on behalf of the whole class. And so
There was some
Getting there, Miss
hesitation.
Bullitt, getting there.
Yeah, we have some ways to go. So we will get there time is exam.
Okay, so we wanna, just before we get into the last chapter on risk, what we want to do today, after we hear our newspaper clippings and our civic organizations, we want to, everybody, the entire class, let's see, 13 persons so far, and I guess it'll be 23 by 10 o'clock. We want everybody to give a point on risk, just to ensure that we're all on the same track. And so we don't want to repeat what somebody else says, but we want to continue on with the next step. So the first person that I call on should start with recommendation 1, right? And if they go into what the Bahamas says, then they should say section 5 of the FTRA and explain to us. And then next one should go on to framework, and after framework, mitigation. So is that clear? So we want the various steps on risk. Is that clear? Everybody should have something to say about risk and give us some type of example or refer us to some law or some recommendation. Okay, is that good? Yay! I don't hear the celebration. I don't see the balloons and the stars going up. No? We there?
We'll try our best.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, so let's start off with the newspaper so we can give the persons who reach at 10 some time so they don't miss anything. So
All right. I read the newspaper. I mean, I read it every week, but this one was interesting.
Okay.
It's a article in the Tribune from Neil Hartnell. It's the subject line is Bahamas targets perfection on anti-financial crime rating. Ryan Pinder basically addressed the Senate on a package of financial services laws reforms. He stated that the Bahamas will be in a class of only 2 countries in the hemisphere should it be rated compliant or largely compliant with all of the 40 recommendations issued by the FATF. And he then stated that the Bahamas was found either largely or fully compliant with 38 of the FATF standards in December of 2021. And he said that by the latter regional affiliate, with the 2 outstanding areas being regulation of nonprofit entities and oversight of digital asset providers. And he said he hopes in May 2022 we get a perfect rating of 40 from 40.
Okay, yes, very good and very relevant. And again, it was not just the Bahamas, but Switzerland and Anguilla and Trinidad and France, all of them had 40. They had deficient recommendation. So it's not us, 22 may sound like it is more than half, but they work diligently. And we were, like I said, the last time I checked, we were largely compliant in 30 and 10 needed some help. And so that's very good news, because of course, what we're going to talk about is risk rating today. And we see that from the Basel Committee, the risk rating, the mutual evaluation agreement is 65% of your risk rating, right? And so we want to ensure that that is up to date, all those recommendations, so that when our risk rating comes into effect, that they can't say, well, you did not satisfy your recommendations. So it's very good that they work diligently, and we are almost there. If you look at the screen, the domain one, the quality of the framework is 65%. There it is, the FATF Mutual Evaluation Report. Everybody can see the screen, correct?
Yeah.
Right. And so therefore, this is 35%. And so this assessment is based on compliance with the FATF recommendations and 11 key effectiveness goals or immediate outcomes. So why is this important? FATF data is a primary source of assessing the quality of a country's legal and institutional AML CFT framework and its application in practice. The absence of it, of legislation and of preventative and mitigation measures allow for increased and uncontrolled flows of illicit assets, and consequently an increase in the risk of money laundering. So this just means that this 35%, we should get full marks, and therefore we will look at the remainder of the categories. Some things we can help. We are considered a transit country, so we probably won't get any points with the trafficking persons and the narcotics control, right? So we really need to do very excellent, like get full points in areas like the FATF evaluation report. Is that clear to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay, so we see the importance of the Attorney General even stating that and saying, listen, we had some deficiencies, but we fixed our laws. And again, it's not easy to fix their laws. Okay, so one, fix our laws. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm talking in the third person. I must have was listening to Fred this week. But what I'm saying is, we fixed the tax law, and when we fixed it, we only fixed the VAT and the custom tax part, right? And so of course they slammed us. They say, hey, you're putting in the shell again. You're putting in the shell, because of course the net effect of fixing that tax law, we were seen as a tax haven, and so that meant that it's cheaper to do business at home. So that law wiped out most of our offshore business, right? Or it made it less attractive and made us less competitive. And so, of course, with that tax one, it took us a while to fully put it into place. And so, whilst we were fully putting it into place, that meant that that recommendation was deficient. Okay? And so in December 2020, we fully fixed that. And so it helped us to become fully compliant. Okay? So just so I want to tie these things in that we're reading in the newspaper, and to see why it is important, and to see why it makes sense. Okay, go ahead, Jasmine.
Good morning, everybody. Excuse me, I don't feel well, but I'll participate anyway. So when you asked the question on the exam about the methodology, I have the main points taken down, and the percentages that they're carrying.
Okay.
So do we have to go through everything that is like when I you have this FATF mutual evaluation is 35%, then the tax justice is 20%. We have to take it down to that rather than just putting. Okay.
No, you can just do, remember it's
main
only
points.
10 points, right? So
Yeah.
you could say that there are 5 domains, and then you could list 2 of the domains,
Okay.
quality of the framework, and then corruption and and
Okay.
then you can use this same article as an example, and that's your 10 points right there.
Okay.
Yeah, because that would
Thanks.
really tie it in and prove that you understand methodology. You even have an example of what the Bahamas has done to satisfy, to make sure this area of it is satisfied.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, very good, very good. Everybody else clear? Okay, okay, very good. Very relevant article. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, anybody else with the newspaper?
Morning. I have a question. I read that same article, but I wasn't too sure local examples of the virtual asset service providers. What would that, who would fall in that category?
I don't understand when you say you read
That
that
would have been
example, but he said
recommendation
that we are
15.
compliant, right?
No, right. And so recommendation 15 was the one that they were still working on, because they met with all the NPOs, NGOs, and spoke to them about the importance of being compliant. But the other one
That's the
related to
nonprofits
virtual,
now. That's the
right? But
nonprofits. Yeah.
the other one, which was recommendation 15, which was one of the 2 outstanding ones, said virtual asset service providers. Which companies fall in that range?
Okay, so let's look, because this is where research comes in, right? I can imagine that it's we heard about the what's his name? Oh, the Friedman man who owns FTX.
Right, FTX, right.
Yeah, $22 billion.
Right.
So I would imagine, but again,
Like
let's
digital
see.
companies.
But at first, where do we start? Who would regulate them?
Security Commission. I think it's
Right.
4 last time we looked at it.
Yeah, so let's go directly. So we know the regulator, and we're not certain on virtual, what is it? Virtual assets?
Virtual asset service providers. So that's the one that deals with recommendation 15.
Okay, no results found. When we look at, let's look at digital assets and registered exchanges, because sometimes the terminology is different. And this is why lawyers make a lot of money, right? Annual fees. Okay, so there we go. These digital asset businesses, digital tokens, that's who falls under there. But let's go and see who has a license. Remember when we looked at it, who are the licensees under these various ones? So let's just look. And they call them their registered. Right. So we see that's FTX, and then we see Delcan Limited, never heard of them. And then we see Liongate Bahamas. And so I would imagine one of these 3 companies would deal with virtual assets, right?
Okay.
And so we would, FTX has definitely been in the papers 100 times since they opened, right? And again, like I said, you all need to follow. This person is Samuel Bankman-Fried, 29 years old, $22.5 billion. And he said his father, he has a story where he said his father tried to leave him some money or make him run his business. And he said, no, Dad, I want to do my own thing. Okay. And so follow him when you're following the fintech hub, because at 29, he is the trendsetter. The government revamped the laws and put this law in place so he can open up his business. Okay. And so if you have that type of clout to make a country put legislation in place just so you can get a license, you must be 22 billion. Yeah. Okay. So follow this guy. He has a lot of YouTube videos out there on how he did it and what he does and what have you. Okay. So these are the type of people you want to know. These are the type of persons you want in your network or you want to learn from. Okay.
He married?
I don't know. He's only 29. I doubt it. I doubt it. But two of my colleagues worked for him and he's very down to earth. It was his birthday sometime in March and they had a very nice party for him. And he was just there cutting the cake and, you know, networking with the staff. So very down to earth guy. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we see where we can get an example from. Okay. Oh, Destiny. Okay. All right, good. Very, very good. Any other questions? And again, I don't want you just to read these articles. I want you to go out there and do your research to make it make sense. Like, who are these people? How do I find this information? And this, you must be information seeking. So very good that you're tying it in and trying to find out what was the example locally. So very good. Sometimes we may not have a local example. As you see, we only have 3 licensees and they may not deal directly with the virtual asset. So you may have to, you know, leverage on Cayman or the US or Canada. I'm sure if we go onto their Securities Commission site, they have at least 100 registrants or licensees already. Okay, so very, very good. Anybody else? No, nobody has read the newspaper?
I read the newspaper. Go ahead.
Miss Collard, I do apologize. I just want you to know, I went to a Zoom meeting about violence, domestic violence in the Bahamas about with women.
Okay.
I didn't know if you already spoke about it. I was having difficulty with my audio.
Okay, but we can hear you good now. I mean, it's working now, or we need to let you speak
yes,
now?
Yes, it's working
or?
Now. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so I think Tennille wanted to tell us about we could go to the Civic after the newspaper.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Tennille.
I believe last week, one of our classmates touched on it when she was talking about the development that was supposedly supposed to go on, in Cat Island.
Mm-hmm.
The name escapes me right now about the person who was doing the development, but I guess they added to the story where they said that looking at his media and other things, that's actually cases, court cases against him in the United States. And then he is known for doing fraud. So now it's how I understood it is suspected that he used some of that fraudulent money now trying to invest in the Bahamas, because they said the companies that he operated in America were all of his children, all his family were on the boards, and all of them are now being investigated for fraudulent acts, and some of them are being proved through paperwork and other things. So I found that very interesting.
Yeah, and again, like I said, you know, we have to move away, and it happened with the other government as well, where we did the Oban deal, where the man, I think he signed a fictitious name on the contract. There, on each contract, there should be like a 90-day due diligence period, or at minimum a 30-day due diligence period. And this is where you world check, you know, and all of this happens when somebody walks into the bank, because we deal with millions of dollars and we work in the offshore world. Before our sales persons or our CEO even speaks to this person, they say, oh, somebody wants me to have a lunch with Tennille Bain. They send Tennille's name to compliance, and you have to produce your passport. We say, please produce Tennille's passport. And we world check them, do a background check just before you even speak. Because in your conversation, you are now discussing the products and the services that you offer to the, you know, the bank offers. So we world check you, LexisNexis, Google you up front, right? And then our CEO or our salespersons, and that's our policy, are allowed to even speak to this person. Okay, and so obviously somebody is doing something wrong at the Ministry of Finance, because with the Orban deal, they found out post that these people were crooks and had all sorts of court cases against them. Now here it is. I don't know, you know, our good Prime Minister He loves Cat Island. He won all the developments. I don't know if he knew or he didn't know, because obviously he said when it came to Adrian Fox, he said, I've known him for years. He's been my client. He's a great man. Forget what he did wrong, bam, you know. So I don't know if he knew this or he didn't, but obviously somebody is not doing the proper checks and balances. And before you even invite somebody into the country, you should say there's a 30-day period. I mean, I don't know, at least a week period before we invite you to the country, and we could announce that you're doing a, you know, I think he probably was in haste to say Cat Island was getting a boost. You know, I don't know, but it seems like we're not good at due diligence on the government side. And they hiring a bunch of people to do a bunch of stuff, but somebody actually needs to do their job. Okay, because like I say, this is the second time we have not properly checked these persons and we let them infiltrate our country. And so the little information that they already have, they could use it against us. So, and these people are billionaires, you know, or they have a lot of money and they have a lot of connects. So we need to be careful. Due diligence is what is key. KYC is what is key. And if that's not happening in your organization right now, you need to recommend it. It can't happen post. We have external asset managers, we have business introducers in 25 countries. Before any of them speak to any customer, Tennille could walk into their organization in Switzerland and say, I'm interested in opening up an account. They have to get it. Okay, you are. Can we have a copy of your passport and we'll get back to you? Or I'd like to have lunch with your CEO, or I'd like to have lunch with your salesperson. That's the next step. In 24 hours, somebody will contact you. That would give compliance sufficient time to word check, Google check, see if these people are legit. And right off, we don't need to let them know what types of products and services we offer or make deals with them. Let them start the process of opening an account and there's a hit against their name. Jesus, these people is be, and I'm telling you, people is be out on bail. They have connection to Afghanistan. They charge with money laundering. Some people is be in jail. Okay, so I have a lot of horror stories. So please do the proper balances and checks. Okay, not post, pre. So you give them that application, or, and like I said, it's very competitive. The salespeople are under a lot of pressure. They sometimes only get paid on commission. So this has to be enforced. Okay. Okay, good.
So, Ms. Bullard, I have a question regarding, I guess, the government and their lack of doing due diligence. Do you think it's a matter of them not having the proper personnel in place, or do you think it's just them trying to rush through deals? Because I can't imagine like a whole government of the country not having procedures in place to mitigate like these type of risks, especially if we were in a situation like that before, where we, you know, signed a contract where it was fraudulent. Like you don't think that the government at this point have, I guess, their risk department in place, or their compliance department in place to make sure?
No, I don't. The Attorney General office, just in January of this year. Now I've seen an ad in the papers before, and I had two persons from my class say that the Attorney General office is establishing, and this when the FNM was in power, and Carl Bethel realized that if we didn't have a seat at the table, he became the chairman. And only after he became the chairman of the FATF or the CFATF, then he said, I have to establish a compliance department in the Attorney General's office. And I had two persons come and they say, well, we are lawyers, but we're interested in establishing this department and we want to apply for the position when it comes available. That was last year. And then I saw in January, they had about 10 ads for risk and compliance and junior compliance and what have. That was just this year. So if it's established or up and running, I don't know, I have to check with my two ladies who took this class, and I think one of them is now in ICA. But they lawyers and they don't have the training yet, you know, and so they definitely don't even have any experience. So yeah, and I don't know if they have it somewhere else, but I know that's the Attorney General office. So I don't know if they're gonna work with the Ministry of Finance or what have you, but I don't think it's established. They probably have somebody who does something else and you know what I mean, for the whole government. You know, so
I think
it's not properly established. Go ahead.
I think when it comes to investors, the government just focuses on the word alleged. So they're not actually convicted. And so maybe they see it as every or any businessman, successful businessman may have allegations, but they're not convicted yet. So I think they focus on that word alleged when they go into these matters, with the hope that they would be, you know, not found guilty.
Right,
of
acquitted. Right. And our
so
prime
that's
minister,
the basis.
Right, and so our prime minister, remember now, he was a criminal lawyer, and so he himself has a shady past, and I'm sure his bosom buddies does as well. And so, you know, back before 2018, we didn't even take it seriously. The banks were taking it seriously, but the country as a whole, you know what I mean? I don't think we took it seriously. Right. And so he is and he has like done business with loads of Donald Trumps.
Right. And no one else wants
they
their
are businessmen.
Yeah.
They are businessmen. So it's all about
we'll take the risk.
Yeah, we'll take the risk because this is a man making money. He is in business. Yeah. It's the ideology is different.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that we're in trouble because the way of the world is changing. I mean, people with negative news search are automatic high risk in my business. So I mean, for a whole government not to have, I guess, people looking out like that, or risk rating, or have proper measurements in place, as a country, we could be in trouble. I mean, that's
we don't think so. We have CFATF. We have professionals, people who travel with the FATF and the CFATF and do examinations. So we have people that are part of these teams that go from country to country. So we know what to do. And I do think we have people in place. It's just that the politicians are the decision makers.
But then that's the issue then. That's the troublesome issue. So then we need to get to the bottom of anyways, okay.
We say that as behavior, but we just go the same, just do the same thing.
Yeah, but see, we voted them in. We voted them in, and so it's just like the Democrats and the Republicans. The F&M is more conservative. The PLP is less conservative. The F&M is more strategic when it comes to policy. The PLP is more for the people. So like my friend loved the F&M so much. His last name is Ingram, and he named his son Hubert. He named his son Hubert just after the F&M. And when it was the election, you know, he called me and he's a grassroots person. He lives in one of the communities out there, and he called me on the phone and he said, "Bullet, I'm gonna vote for the PLP." I said, "What?" I say, "After you name your son Hubert Ingram?" He said, "Yes, Bullet. Under the F&M, my light been off 3 times. Under the PLP, my light was $1,200 and it never cut off once. And I could have gone on to BPL and tell them I could pay $100 and they'll take it, but not under the F&M." I said, "But do you realize if everybody thought the way you thought, if your whole community thought that it was okay not to pay your electricity bill, and just the PLP and power, they can keep it on." I said, "You know how much that would cost you in the long run?" You know, I say, so the way you think, but a lot of grassroots people think that way. Or I get $500 if I vote for them. F&M will give me nothing. And so it's a different mindset. It's a different you know?
Yeah.
So
Another story I think I read that was interesting when it comes to government was a legislation, I think with offshore, any business that's done in the Bahamas, that the former government put in place the legislation that says that any business, the Bahamas gets VAT on it, right?
yeah.
And now this government is saying, let's get rid of that. I mean, how do we move ahead when we put laws in place, then the next government comes and we remove laws, and you know, they
Because
really, the consultation has to be there to make it make sense.
right. And see, that's what I'm saying. We don't have a lobbyist. And unfortunately, on the both sides of the government, they think their job is only to oppose. They don't think that their job is to say, okay, that's a good decision, we will support you. Whether it's a good decision or not, they are going to oppose because they are the opposition. And that's very sad because that affects the people, right? And why I am disappointed in the PLP a little bit with this whatchamacallit visa thing, right? The Bahamas in a pandemic was able to put a business strategy in place to make $7 million.
Right.
Why would you fight that? That wasn't, I mean, I can understand you say the Bahamian people didn't pay it, but why the people who could afford to travel and we make all our money from, why are you fighting for us to make revenue and it's we in a deficit and we in a pandemic? That was absolutely ludicrous. Okay. Then the second thing is now you say VAT is not going to be on it. The Hawksville Creek Agreement, Perry Christie, that was for 99 years. And when Perry Christie was prime minister, he signed that for another 99 years. Why would you sign a Hawksville Creek Agreement after you saw what they did in the first 99 years? The people of Grand Bahama suffer, only Freeport and the port are the billionaires, and they are billionaires, and then there are poor people, there are no jobs. The economy has been on a downturn for the last, before I was born. And you could turn around and sign the Hawksville Creek Agreement again, where they are exempt from all taxes, where everything is in the benefit of the poor. Not only that, Ginger Moxie was a VP at the port. Now she is the head of Grand Bahama. What happened? The first thing that happened was the port was able to increase their light bill on a downturn economy that just suffered a hurricane and was already downturn, suffered a hurricane and a pandemic, and y'all get increased the light bill to make the rich richer? No man. And they didn't even build the airport back. They say they wasn't going to build the airport back and they are billionaires. No. So I am very, very disappointed in those two. And now the billionaires who coming in to invest in our country, again, we can make revenue, which we have a problem making, or collecting taxes. Now, don't collect it because they are billionaire boys. Yeah, or how are we thinking? Is this country trying to make money or not? I don't know. We need lobbyists. We, like you say, consultants. We need, every time the government change, this one lose their job, that one is Chris. All the work that you do and put in place to advance the country, because it don't have my name on it, I can scratch that and say I can do something else because my job is only to oppose. That's what happening. I mean, that's just my point of view. Yeah. Okay. And any comments?
There was another article in the papers this week, Ms. Bullard, that spoke about the government's plan to move ahead with levying VAT on vacation rentals. And there was a gentleman who works in some private banking sector. He spoke out against it, stating that he feels like the government is just targeting any growth industry for extra tax dollars in an effort to combat the national debt and deficit crisis. And so he argued
shouldn't
that
shouldn't they?
I agree.
Shouldn't they? What should they be doing?
We had this conversation at work this week, and this gentleman's argument, and some people at my work also agreed, and I didn't agree with it because people are saying that vacation rentals have been a vehicle in providing a pathway for Bahamian ownership in the tourism industry.
That's not so. I mean, they need to do percentages, or say that I'm going to exempt Bahamians and charge the foreigners, because in order to get residency, they pay $750,000 and purchase these houses, and then they do them as Airbnbs.
Right.
Right, so
Exactly.
tax them. They billionaires.
Yeah, and those Airbnbs, especially on the islands, a lot of them are generating a lot of income from those Airbnbs.
You'll go on Airbnb and see the price, $225 a night, $300 a night. I see one for $8,000 a night. They shouldn't. If somebody paying you $8,000 a night on a beach or on a private island, you shouldn't be taxed.
I agree. But a lot of persons feel like the government's just trying to kill the goose that laid the golden egg, or
no. And the hotels charge the same tax.
Exactly.
And so therefore, you think about it and say, okay, let's exempt Bahamians for the first couple of years and then review it. And then perhaps if you're foreign, then you pay what it is, 12% or something like that. But if you're not foreign, you pay 5%. It's something. But we need to make money. We need to make money.
Yeah, I agree.
We cannot keep borrowing. And every time you come up with an idea would make sense to make money, how else does a country make money? Natural resources and taxes? People, I don't get it. Just borrow it. Just borrow till you can't borrow no more. When I saw that, I threw the paper down and I said, man, I can't. I would even have a discussion on it because it's crazy. Don't make no money, government. Tax increase VAT up and down for people. No, you could make exemptions for the people. And I just saying no, I mean, you don't just in rocket science and it's crazy. It's crazy. Please, y'all, please educated people, please. I beg y'all, please. Y'all go, it's your country needs you. Okay, we have a bunch of people who just can't come up with a solution. And it's clear as day. And we copy everything from Luxembourg or the Netherlands or Cayman. And these countries doing it and they prosper us. Why we can't look at the rich countries and see how Monaco giving people $3,000 a month, their citizens, and just copy it. We copy everything else.
Because we want it, but we don't want to pay taxes.
Bahamians
does not like to pay taxes.
But this is how we don't pay tax. Sorry, Mikhail, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that I think the issue is that nobody ever wants to tax at the top, because these lawmakers tend to be at the top and these are the people in their circle.
No,
so
the people at the top are who paying taxes. They're the ones who paying the taxes.
No, in America too, you know how Biden keeps saying we can tax the very wealthy, and they put all kinds of, so it's the very wealthy, just like the oligarchs in Russia. They in Putin's ear. When their money is stopped, they have influence. The politicians, these their friends and their bosom buddies. And so they don't want to be taxed.
Real property tax. They pay that real property tax by the 31st of January.
Regular people.
Nobody
I pay my real
it.
property tax too.
The rich people, the non-residents.
Oh dear, nobody. Yes. The land pay. Oh, nobody pays it. The government can't collect that for 50 years.
The non-residents pay
Perry Christie.
It's the Bahamian citizens who don't pay their real property tax.
Do you remember when Perry Christie put in the papers that Ishmael Lightbourne, who was the head of
Bahamian?
Yeah, his real property tax, I think, was $300,000, and Perry Christie said to waive that. And he was a millionaire for many years, and then he fell, from the top. And Perry Christie say, "Oh, that's my buddy. Let's waive that."
Yep.
So it's them who is the very rich. Okay, Mikhail, what would you say, Mikhail?
No, I was just saying, like, a real easy way to put a lot of this to bed, but people don't like to have the conversation, is we could do a lot better with income taxes. I know that's a scary topic to have, but it would be more fair. It would be more balanced. We could get rid of stuff like VAT, and obviously there would be like a tiered system. So depending on how much people earn, you would tax them appropriately. Like you wouldn't do like a straight across the board 20% tax. wealthier people who who were like well over that 6-figure bracket, like closer to the $1 million mark, they could honestly afford to pay a little bit more. Oftentimes, I feel like they have better opportunities too. But I think we like this idea of like everybody across the board, no matter how, and even though we know that there is a disparity between wealth in this nation, this notion that, oh, everybody should pay the same regardless of where you stand, something about that just seems unfair to me. I would have to do more research on it, but it just seems unfair to ask the cashier at Super Value to pay the same percent that I pay. Like I am far from wealthy, but I'm not in the same situation as the pump attendant at Esso. So to ask everybody to pay the same just seems, I don't know, immoral.
Unfair,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I agree. Okay, so very, very good. Seem to be very aware. And again, like I say, we are good at just sitting down and talking. You'll be better than Miss Bullet, and some of you go out there and make a difference, please, because your country really needs you. And it seems like if you have a good solution, just because you're on my side, I got post. So and so we're not looking at the best interest of the country. Okay, so please, we need people with sense. We really need people with sense, in our governments. Okay, good, very good. So we could go on to the civic organizations now. Was it Tamarin? Is Tamarin there? No? Okay.
Miss Bullet, she's here.
Sorry, I'm here.
Go ahead, Renita.
No, I was saying I went to the same organization, but I'll let her go and then I'll go after her because I have a lot, so I don't want to repeat what she said.
Okay, go ahead, Tamarin.
Okay, and they were talking about domestic violence in the Bahamas with females and how it's deeply rooted from young. She also spoke like, domestic violence isn't just physical and emotional, it's also, money, people withholding you from money, withholding you from pursuing your dreams and stuff, and how we as a community needs to step up and we are the solution in the domestic violence in females. But I can let Bernie finish talk about it.
No, but finish, tell us. So what about domestic violence in females?
She also is like, it's rising. Domestic violence is rising in females, and how our government isn't really doing anything about it. Like we just keep brushing it underneath the rug as if it's nothing. We'd be like, oh, well, he roughed you up, that's nothing, let it go. And she's like, no, that's how it starts. And it starts from small, it's deeply rooted. We seeing our parents doing it, we seeing our family members doing it, we look the other way, and it's getting worse and worse. And that's why, she was talking about how we need a solution, how we need to, within our homes, do better. Because, with the lady who just got killed in domestic violence, when she got shot, she's like, that's the results of always turning our head and brushing it underneath the rug. Like it results into the years kind of situation.
Okay, and so what about the civic organizations? What about the crisis center? And when the government isn't doing that, what about the Christian Council, where these people in regards to this, you can't just let it happen, but this is what their organizations should be advocating for and pushing. So did she mention anything about them?
She didn't really go on in depth about it, but from my opinion, I feel like our laws doesn't really protect the females when it comes to domestic violence.
Right.
We don't have no laws to actually protect us, and not at work, at home, in the church. We really don't have no laws. Like they'll be like, when you go to the police and you say, okay, it's domestic violence, sometimes the police don't even care. Like, it's almost like, okay, then it is what it is. We'll talk to them, and that's the end of that.
Right. And so we just registered 365 nonprofits to satisfy the law. None of them are advocating for this, for laws to be changed, for it to be updated. So again, that's just what And I don't know about the Christian Council. I really would like to see what their agenda is and what their goals are and what they have accomplished. You know, where have they advocated for these things, you know, these social issues to be addressed? Where have they spoken out against it consistently, not once, come on the TV? What has the crisis center done?
You know what, Ms. Bullitt, I understand we as women, we have domestic violence, but I try to be equal and talk for the men too, because recently in the newspapers, we've seen a woman who was on a family island stab up a man. We see a woman who was in court who threw acid on either her boyfriend or husband. So I think that we have to also notice or acknowledge that there's a rise in violence against men as well.
Correct. But of course, we don't ever, like I say, we never ask. I think somebody on Facebook said we never ask a man how he's doing, how he's feeling, or we don't even acknowledge any feeling from men. So very, very good point. And so, like Cameron said, we all have to do better at home. And so as women, we now need to be doing better at home, because we may not physically beat a man, but you know, our tongues are very vicious. And so that's a form of abuse as well. And so please, ladies, be cognizant of what you say and how you say it to make sure that you don't come across as abusive as well. Okay? So very good, Neil. But again, in the absence of the government, the civic groups, somebody should be advocating. Where's Lincoln Bean? Where's with the next one name who always very loud? With the bad hair, what her name is? Nobody know? Y'all don't listen to social
Maria.
Yeah, yeah. Where is she on this issue? Nothing, right? And see, that's just it. That are you activists or these are the you should have an agenda. You should have a group. These are the things that you should be fighting for, and then you should have a sheet to show how effective you are.
The lady speaks out. What's her name?
Yeah, Candy Gibson.
Yeah,
the lady from
Foam, right?
She's the only lady that's
Bahamas,
speaking
yes.
of.
Yeah, but I hope, you know, they need to come together and support. So again, like I say, all of this, we need lobbies, or these groups need to say we are advocating, we are pushing, we are to the government's feet. You know what I mean? Making these change. I don't know. This is what we should march for. You know, to get it fixed. Okay, Cameron. Thank you, Miguel. Miguel, you wanted to say something?
It was me, Monica.
Okay, Monica.
Yes. Okay, so the Rotary meeting I went to, the special guest host was the chairman of Caribbean Women Leadership, Charlene Paul. And she opened by saying that violence in the country is a national crisis. She spoke about the increase of domestic abuse after COVID. And she used a quote from the UN, and it said, "It is believed that violence amongst women in the Bahamas is deeply rooted in existing attitudes, gender stereotype, embedded in sex and gender-based discriminatory laws, customs, and practices against women. Oftentimes," she said, "these abusers pick up this behavior from their childhood ways." And she suggests that proper guidance and loving in the home is a good way to de-escalate this type of behavior. So she went on to list some things that we could do as a society to help these women. So she said we could encourage them to seek professional help. We could encourage them to talk to persons they trust, like friends, family members, or co-workers. We could encourage them to join groups, organizations that are against violence against women. Support local groups helping victims and observe the law surrounding this type of behavior. And then she went on to talk about the statistical data with domestic violence against women in the Bahamas. Of course, as you know, our laws are not up to date and our data is not up to date. But she said the latest data we have would say that 25% of women are engaged in, are abusers, not abusers, are a part of domestic violence. And she say, unfortunately, because we don't have adequate data, we were not able to receive international help. And she went on to say what needs to be done. Okay, so she said we need gender-based GBV, gender-based violence legislation. And she said this needs to be established by creating an authority. She said we need safe house for these victims. And then she started to talk about sexual offenses court. This is a specialized court to expedite these cases. And then she said we have to reduce victims being intimidated by their abusers, which and I agree. And lastly, a special point that I liked about the presentation, when it was the questions part, this guy asked, he said, do we believe that we should beat our kids? Because in the presentation, she started to speak about, if we grow these kids up properly, then, they would be better and they won't be abusing people. So the guy said he personally believes that we should not beat our kids because he said beating kids is the root of abuse. So I'm hearing this and I'm like, no, I believe that we should beat our kids because this kind of can deter them from being violent towards other people. But I don't believe that we should abuse our kids and we should let them know the difference. And that's it.
Okay, I agree. And the Bible says, spare the rod, spoil the child. So that's how I feel about it. Okay, so very good, ladies, and we see we could get some international help, but we are deficient in some of the requirements to get it. So I guess I hope the crisis center or get help. Well, the Christian Council or Candy Gibson, they probably could network together and get some statistics. But I saw the other day, I don't know if you all remember the lady who was beaten, knocked down, and he ran over almost with the baby in her hand, and somebody had just moved the baby like 5 minutes later. She came on the TV asking for donations to have a surgery. I think she needs to have a spine or her legs moved. Did anybody see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that was his second time. He was already out on bail for beating her to a pulp. And I don't know how she lived through that. And I really hope he needs some help because to me that was murder.
He has a history, a violent history, because I was told that him and his baby mother, his first child's mother, was the same thing. She was actually in hospital in ICU.
Wow.
I have a question. I mean, it might be a distasteful question, but the women who he perpetrated these violence against them, when they made the complaints to the police officers, did they follow through? Because I think that's the issue too. Sometimes we as women, we hold back and we don't follow through.
I didn't think they followed through. I think, after he came around pleading that he was sorry, they went back to him.
Yeah, she had to go back because she had the baby was only weeks old. And he was out on bail from 218 or 219 for beating her. So she had to go back and so love.
And it's like you just say, why we have to go back if we have all these churches, the Christian Council, the help hotline, why we have to go back? Well, why is
it's not the church ineffective?
They pay rent for a couple of months, or so we have to deal with the ineffective people too. Because it's like why it can't be another route instead of you having to go back because he financially supporting you or taking care of the child.
But you know what?
Sometimes it's be financially, sometimes it's be self-esteem.
Right. I really hope with registering all these NPOs, they take it a step further and ask them for a statistic list. Show me how many people you help, you save, how many people you took in, and some type of statistics. And then if not, you don't need a license. You don't need a license for a church or a nonprofit if you weren't affected. If you weren't doing nothing, there should be some accountability. You was a nonprofit just to collect money and you're feeding the people. Like I am all, when I watch Bishop Rule and other churches come and donate money to him, I am appalled. Because where's your church feeding ministry? Where's your community outreach? Would you bring in money to another man church no, you should have your own. What happening? Why are you donating money to somebody else feed ministry? Where's yours? And I don't mean some of the very big names been out there and they dare to come on and show their face, but they donating money to him. No, and you have a whole church. Anyway, that Miss Polly can stop with all these feelings. Okay, very good. These people need to be effective. Okay, and no license to collect all this money. It's $1 billion industry. All this money, all this license to collect money every week, and you were supposed to feed the poor. You were supposed to have a counseling session. You're supposed to have some type of outreach. That's what the purpose of the church is. Not to collect money and drive a BMW and wear the best and talk my beef look good and Gucci shoes.
I have to laugh out loud. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I seriously. I mean, y'all don't feel. Y'all don't feel that way.
I totally agree with you, Miss Bullet. I think we have moved away from the real purpose of the church, and now it's just I guess for you to have all of these things. I guess all of the movies and the series on the lavish lifestyle of people who have churches. I guess that's what we are as a society now. I think the church should be doing more in the community.
Right, and they are to be held accountable too for this level of crime. You in Pinewood, what you do with the pine? Y'all should live on that Pinewood Park. So every time the people come to smoke dope or shoot or whatever, they say, "My God, the church out there again." We can't even go take over the parks. Let them be safe places for these children. Not the parents can't even send their children out because they live in Pinewood and they're afraid they can get shot. Where the church? Anyway, my church during the pandemic wanted to put in a PA system. I say, over my dead body, will I pay my tithes for a PA system? And there are hungry people out there. So I started to give my money to my tithes to the feeding ministry, to Walter Hanchel, to Bishop Lawrence Rose. And I've been in my church for 15 years. I am not going to leave, but I am not going to support foolishness either. The Bible says, do not throw your pearls to the pigs. You buying a PA system and the people can't even come in church for $108,000. You know how much people that can feed? Anyway, back to AML. I'm sorry.
Ms. Ballard, not all churches now, you know, we can only speak for what we know. Like, for instance, my church, I know they're involved in the community. That's Carter Street up in UB area. Like today we have outreach where persons in the community come and they give them breakfast. So it's not all, but
Okay.
I understand where you're coming from, but it's not all.
Okay, so very good, Justine. I mean, like I say, support that. That's what the church is for. To help the homeless, to counsel the lonely, to visit you in prison. And the Bible says, so I was in jail and you visited me. I was lonely. I was hungry and you fed me. That's what the church for. So if you are part of that church, yes, support them 100%. But it's beyond me. These churches should be saying, this is extra leftover from our feed ministry, so we donate it to you. Not, we don't have a feed ministry and we don't offer anybody in the community breakfast, so we dropping this case of rice off over to you. No. There should be nobody hungry in the Bahamas with a church on every corner. Because they collecting thousands, millions of dollars every Sunday. What they doing with it? Okay, we talking about AML. I'm sorry. Michael, you have your hand raised?
Right, so I just wanted, because I mean, I think we've covered all the major top points on that particular meeting, but I did attend. But I just wanted to offer another social aspect. Like the speaker mentioned, a lot of this is kind of based in stereotypes and patriarchal norms and just how we normally do business in the Bahamas. And I just thought it was very interesting. And again, not to speak subjectively, but in my life, most of my, in primary school and high school, most of my educators have been women. When I went to university, it was maybe mixed, but it was probably still more women. Even right now, as a woman, you are teaching this class. Most of my direct managers or supervisors in my work career have been women. So I'm struggling with understanding where all this hate for women is coming from. Even within my own household, I have an active father, or I had an active father growing up. And even then he would refer me, depending on whatever the situation was, well, ask him or me, or ask your auntie, meaning his sister. So most of us come from women supported households. We have a high amount of single mothers in this country. I don't understand, having that background, why so much acts of violence are perpetrated against women. I don't want to be an extremist and act like, oh, well, we hate women. But this to me is very concerning. You come from a house with a mother or a grandmother that's reared you, and then you have your own sister, and then you grow up, you have a wife or a girlfriend or whatever, and then we proceed to run them over with cars. So it begs the question, what is going on in these homes? Where are we learning these things? And how is it perpetuated?
With Mikhail, like I say, is beyond me. Like I said, not only did he run over with a car, but she had a 7 weeks baby in her hand. That played my mind for weeks. And the only thing I can say is what society normally says is that women can't raise men. And so perhaps because of that absentee father in the home, and that women are playing both roles, the men are missing some training somewhere, somehow. The men are missing that example of how you treat a woman. I don't know if anybody else wants to add, but men, I guess women can't raise men. And so therefore, how you treat one or how you care, I don't know. Tennille, what are you saying? Where social services are from? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anybody else that thinks on what Michaela is saying. Where's this hatred towards women coming from? I know, our grandmothers, we have a lot of men who are very sexist, and they are very intimidated by women, being educated right now and taking these very, like, being the head, like you say, almost in every aspect of your life. There was a strong woman that, who was the executive or the manager or whatever. And a lot of men, the ones who had fathers, still have the fathers who the mother stayed at home and cleaned the house and kept the children. And so a lot of men think women are out of place. And then a lot of women has taken on that, the very disrespectful attitude towards men when they become all powerful and educated. So it's a combination of things, I think, from my point of view. And so as women, we still have to, even though you may be the CEO at work, you still have to be submissive to your husband. You still have to follow his rules, and that's very difficult. I know, and sometimes in my relationship, I tell my partner, you've given up your right to make decisions. So I'm constantly making the decision. So we always do what I say, but I say, you giving up your role as the head. And he said, no, I still the head. I said, but if I make every decision, I almost feel like I am. But he say, know your place. So.
Right, that's how I feel. If you are stronger, there's nothing wrong with him letting you make the decision, as long as he knows
Decision,
that
Miguel, every decision.
Maybe he agrees with the decision.
Women don't like to make all the decisions. That's why, at least that's how I feel. Like, if you're making all the decisions, you might just like, what you there for? That's why you stop.
I feel like you interject when you feel like, okay, well, no, this is a big decision. We talking about selling the house. Hold on, wait a minute. So we talking about buying a new car, sure. But I mean, like, the day-to-day running, what we can eat, whatever you want to eat. That's nothing.
No, I thought of what shirt I should wear. What should I just took me out my outfit to bed tomorrow? Like, you can't do that yourself. Like, we traveling for Easter. We traveling for Easter. Could you pack my bag, please? I was like, truly, you can't pack your own bag? See, you say you could be a submissive woman. I was like, really? I had to pack your bag for a holiday. Come on.
Just drinks,
But
that's all.
just my comment. I think we just have a very angry society. I mean, you want the light for 5 seconds, they blowing you off. It's just anger. We just have a lot of anger, and that anger then manifests itself through violence. But it all stems, I mean, people in homes, they see things, people at work, it's just frustration, financial. All of these things are just creating a very angry society that's creating the violence that we're seeing. And so the parents are angry, the parents are busy, the parents are broke, the children are frustrated, the children are seeing the violence, and then this is what we're seeing through domestic violence, murders, all the different things. It's, people are angry and frustrated.
And it hot. You're right, oh dear. You're very right. And it hot. And that angry frustration and heat. That's a bad combination.
So if I can add, I think in my opinion, the issue of domestic violence is not something that is new. If I may say, as a child, I can remember vaguely incidences that happened, but then when you walk away or after it, like it's as if nothing happened. So these issues are systemic in our society. We don't talk about it. We act as if it doesn't happen. I think it's coming to light more now because we have social media, and so everyone is posting everything, and the news gets around more. And like you say, people are angry. The women role in the household has changed. The father in most cases isn't there, and so there's a lot of things that is contributing to the issues that we're having now. But I think the church needs to start talking about it. I think we need to get to the root of it in order, to heal as a nation. Because like I said, like this ain't just start happening. This was happening a long, long time. It's just that now it's even more in the open because of social media. So that's my 5 cents to the conversation.
I agree with that, but you say the church, and like I say I'm in and out because I have a stomach flu, so to the bathroom vomiting and stuff like that. But somebody touched on the point earlier about the Christian Council. Like they don't play a role in our society no more. There's no godly structure. Like even with the church, you go to certain churches, you have the pastor see that and this one, and then they're there for money. So the Christian value of our nation has fallen, and I think that's where a lot of the violence and a lot of the things are coming in, because we don't have the godly structure no more. We don't have the fear of God no more. For a man to run, like you say, to run a woman over with a baby in a hand, how? What mental state could he have possibly been in for him to do something like that? He has to have no mother. I don't know who born him, but he couldn't possibly have a mother, no matter what his mother did to him. And so I think the godly structure of our nation is I wouldn't say fallen, but it's being altered. We don't respect God no more, and like so much foolishness going on in the church. To me, I used to go to church, and the things I see going on in the church, if I wasn't strong-headed, I'd just dismiss church completely and go right in my closet and pray. Give my 10% to you know what I mean? Because
you have to remember that these people are still human beings and men and women. So you have to have your own relationship with God. You can't.
You have to.
You have to use them as an example because you will leave church.
I'm telling you, when I was younger, I used to go to my mommy church. I know what church is supposed to be like. It's hard to find that old school religion how it used to be. That is like that don't exist no more, and that's why people don't have no fear for God no more. And so people just running wild and doing their own thing.
And something that you said prompted me about the Gaudette story. I think the Gaudette, I don't know if you all know the lady. She's a Gaudette now. She was sexually molested by her father, I think, who was a priest. And she went on social media calling out her mother saying, "You never saved me. You knew what was going on. You allowed it." Anybody familiar with that story?
That was the girl who was from a family island. So it was a family friend, I think, or something like that.
Cadet, it was the last name. And she calling her mother out public. I think they was from Freeport. she calling out and she saying, you know, you just allowed it and you just stayed. Why didn't you protect me? And I think too now it's the net effect of perpetrators getting away with it for so long. People turning a blind eye to it for so long. At an institution where I worked, the messenger used to feed up all the every time somebody new come, he used to fill them up and tell one person, and she went to the photocopier, just continuously photocopying, and you know, they called the ambulance for her, and she was admitted to Sandilands. But he triggered something off on her, and again, he did that for 30 years. They had a lot of complaints, they did nothing about it, and then they finally, after that incident, they retired him. Wow. And one of the two ladies, you know, but he still retired with his honor.
Break his
still got all his money. No jail time, no call the police, no nothing. She's sitting up in Sandilands, and two of the ladies came, said, you know, I feel so bad because had I reported him 20 years ago, this wouldn't happen to this young girl today, because he did the same thing to me. You know, so women need to speak up. Women need to be more supportive. There needs to be help. So I could know that I can leave my husband and protect my child, and we can still eat. You shouldn't have to decide whether you don't have electricity or the basic necessities of life, or you sacrifice your child. I mean, it's sad. Okay, so back to these people being more effective. Yes, go ahead.
Some women don't speak up or don't want to speak up. Like, for example, he's a priest. And then if she confide in someone in the church, or they would be like, oh, no, not my good priest. You really have some people ignorant like that. That's why some women don't speak up.
I know. It's also, like I said, it's all sorts of evil. And to me, the whole thing is a plan of the devil, but you have to do what is right. You have to have that relationship with God, or you wouldn't be a part of any group. The church will make you run away from them.
Yes, I feel like a lot of people victim blame a lot as well.
Yeah. Okay, so guys, very, very good discussion. You all seem to be aware. You know, these are the social aspects of our country, the social ills that need to be fixed. And again, like I say, people don't perform when they're in these types of situations. So I had a lady, you know, sit down to my desk, and she just started crying. And I was like, I didn't even know her. I had just started at this institution. I'd probably been there a month. And she was in the IT department, and she just came to fix my computer, hook up my printer or whatever it was. And she sat there and she started to cry. And I said, are you okay? And she was like, she was being molested. And I said, at 25, I said, normally this happens to children. And she, you know, had an uncle that lived in the house with her, and I mean, she just was there crying, and here I am, thinking, what can I do to help this girl? And so you would be surprised at the different types of issues you have to deal with, you know. So, you know, I introduced it to, there's a 1-800 hotline where you could get mental health, or any type of counseling that you need. And so we started with that. And then I had to help her all the way through. So it was very strict. I was like, oh, never thought I would run into this in compliance, but that's what happened. You know, and eventually, you know, I told her, you know, you have to get enough money to move out the house. If you don't want to tell, you know, she's like, this is her father's brother. She doesn't want to break up the family. And if I say, okay, but you were like 25, you have to move out the house. Because you can't go there every day living in fear. She, like I say, it was a long, drawn out thing, but eventually she got out of the house. And after she got out of the house, she then, you know, told her father what was happening. So, yeah. Okay, so very good. Justine, you wanted to say something else?
I wanted to share on my, I attended the Toastmasters meeting on Tuesday. that Owen sent the invite for. I believe he attended also. Is Owen here today? I didn't hear him.
No, he isn't gonna be in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it was on Tuesday and the topic was just kidding. They have had different sections where they ask random the question, what a situation where you were pranked or tricked and what was your reaction. But it was more in-house where they spoke about the meeting roles and responsibilities. I don't know if this was their first meeting. The word of the day was, it's a long word, weird word, never saw it before, but I'll try to pronounce it. Clockwortness. And the meaning was having great physical beauty. But what really stood out to me was, well, what was a help to me. There's a member, she spoke about, in an interview, how to present yourself and certain tips that you should work on if you know you're going to be interviewed. And she talked about, knowing how to sell yourself for a specific purpose or role, to know your why. Why are you being interviewed? And if you're the right candidate, what do you have to offer? And understanding the dynamics and the skills and qualities needed for the role, and how do you fit. And she talked about, demonstrating confidence, to maintain eye contact, watch your body language, be calm, use proper speech. And she said, smile, not to giggle, listen attentively. And, if there's a question you're not clear on, to get asked for clarity. And just, be your true self and be authentic. So that really stood out to me. I mean, helped me some. But like I said, it was more like in-house. They were talking about meeting rules and responsibilities. So it wasn't a specific topic that they had or discussed on. And that was about it.
Okay, very good. Good tips, good information to learn. Okay, so very good discussion. Sorry for the persons who say this, nothing about this was about AML, but again, like I say, we want to be well-rounded and we want to be conscious of all the issues, not just AML, but as a whole. You never know what you are going to be faced with on a daily basis as a compliance officer. So you want to be aware, you want to be compassionate, and again, these things affect the country, and so you don't want to be blindsided and say, oh, well, it has nothing to do with compliance. Because again, the female CEOs, these are going to be the discussions. When it was International Women's Day, they did ask me, what do you think about the level of violence, like what Mikhail talked about against women? What do you think the issue is? I couldn't say, but I didn't know. I read this paper. I don't know what's really going on. I don't have nothing to do with compliance, so you shouldn't ask me those. Okay, so you want to be well versed and knowledgeable with the issues affecting your country, okay, and your community at large. Okay, so very, very good insight, guys, and good comprehension. So thank you all for sharing. Okay, so let's talk about risk. Okay, and so what I said at the beginning, still only 13 of you here. What I said at the beginning is that this is the last chapter on this, and we all should have an overview. And so I'd like everybody to give me a one-liner on risk, just to make sure that we are all on the same track, that we can all answer the whole classwork questions and the exam. But again, just to give you an overview to understand risk rating. Okay, so risk rating again is at 3 levels. It's at the country level, and we know now that our risk assessment is being completed, and based on how we are risk rated, the country is going to be risk rated high, medium, or low. And we looked at the Basel Committee, we looked at the map, and we understand by now methodology. Methodology is very important, okay? So this is at the country level. Then there's the company level, where again, the regulators rate us high, medium, or low. And again, their methodology will be perhaps a little bit different. They perhaps will use quality of the framework, types of products and services, major countries, jurisdictions that you deal with, something like that. So normally in the methodology for at the company level, there are 10 to 14 categories. And then there's the client level. So country level, company level, and then client level, how we risk rate our clients. Okay. And so nobody wants to be high risk at any of those levels, because of course we know if we are risk rated high risk, it calls for enhanced due diligence. At the country level, we have many countries that say, or many institutions, we simply don't do business with high risk countries. And so therefore, we have to have a workaround. Like I always use the example of our trading desk. The traders are sitting here in the Bahamas. We are paying Switzerland $100,000 a year to hold our trading desk, simply because we don't have a bank account that facilitates trading with, say, a Wells Fargo or a Chase or a Deutsche Bank, because they simply say we don't do business with high-risk countries. We explained that the country is not high risk, but we couldn't prove it because the last time the country risk rating was done was in 2015, 2016, and they say we need a current risk rating. We don't need an old one. So until your country risk rating comes out, we will not open this account trading desk for you, and therefore you continue to pay Switzerland $100,000. And I think that was in 2009 when we went to New York, 19, sorry, went to New York to close out that trading desk, and 19, 20, 21, 22. So $400,000 in fees we've been paying simply because we cannot move the trading desk here. Okay, so that's the net effect of being presumed high risk. Okay, so this is the methodology for countries, and this is a copy. I thought I downloaded this. Let's see, so you can see. So you have to have a policy and procedure that tells you how your form works. Compliance should be responsible for this. You should have a rating scale of the points. You should, some organizations use data for their scoring. Some use, they say, well, if they have PEPs, tick yes. And if they do business with high risk countries, tick yes. If there are 2 yeses and 3 no's, it's low risk. If there are 3 yeses and 2 no's, then it's high risk. Okay, but normally the risk rating internally for the customers looks a little bit like this, where we have the nationality, and once we pick the nationality, there's a scoring that comes up here, and each country is has a rating. Now we leverage off the Basel Committee's country rating for that rating. We don't just make it up. So when somebody says, explain your methodology to me, your explanation should be, we get the country rating from the Basel Committee. So if we have a client that's out of the Dominican Republic, their AML score is 4.72. We use the Basel Committee or Transparency International rating for the country. If we have somebody out of Haiti, in that category, they are going to be high risk. That does not mean overall they are going to be high risk, but it just means in the nationality category, the most points you could get is 10 points. So you would definitely get a 10 point for Haiti, okay? In the domicile, where do you live category, you can get 20 points is the highest. So definitely in the domicile category, you are going to get 20. So if you have 10 in nationality and 20 in domicile, you're already halfway there, because overall, if you get a scoring of 50% or more, then you would be considered high risk. But let's just say you are a Haitian national, but you live in the Bahamas. So of course you'll get a 0 for the Bahamas. Perhaps in Miami or in the US, they have Bahamas perceived as high risk, so you might get full points for Bahamas if you were in the US. However, you are in the Bahamas, so there's no risk for being in the Bahamas. So at a Bahamian institution, so you would get 0. Okay, so you could be born in Haiti, you get the full 10 points, but you live in the Bahamas. The professional sector is low risk, so you probably get no points for it being low risk. The business activity could be low risk. Let me see what is considered low risk. What I don't want to say fishing and all of that, because I think they are high risk. I'd have to look. But let's just say you work at a school, you're a teacher, so professional sector is 0. You get no points for that. And the country of work is Bahamas. Is the whole as same as the client? Yes. Are you a PEP? No. So you see, if you are a PEP, if you have a special status, and we just put that in there, special client status, meaning you are on bail or you have some negative news or something like that, automatically that jumps to 80. So that means you don't even need anything else to add up here. You will be high risk. On operational risk and special risk too, if you have those, automatically you'll get 50. Anything over 50 is high risk. Okay, but you can't have all these categories. You could be have a high rating in nationality, but not in professional sector, not in domicile. And so you could come out below 30 and be low risk. So it just really depends. Okay, but along the side, these are the categories. I think your question on the classwork asks you, what are the categories that make would be seen on a risk rating? Nationality, domicile, professional sector, country of work. Is the holder the same as the client? Because sometimes you have power of attorneys, or you may not be, you may be acting on behalf of a company, whatever company you work for. Okay, and then the type of account: commercial account, trust account, individual, corporate, or employees. And of course, we know again, trust accounts are legal entities. So if you were to select a trust account, immediately this would go to 30. So like I said, you would be half of there. So if you are a trust account and use a PEP, you high risk. Okay, and any other, like I say, special risk, if you out on bail, if there's negative media or special client status, all of that is in there. Transactional activity, it depends on what you select, how many transactions you are going to complete each month, and then the amount and total money expected. Again, we put this in there because we wanted to pay attention to, if you said you was going to bring in $10 million, you may only bring in 5 million today, but we expect 10 million. We put that in there because we want to pay, and we would highlight that because we want to offer the white glove service to our very high net worth clients. Okay, and the central bank or the regulators say met the beneficial owner. Again, this is for the offshore world. This means that we have business introducers and external asset managers all around the world. And so in Bahamas, we don't necessarily meet the client when opening up an account. And so if they are business introducers and they go to them and give them all their KYC and then it was sent to us, that means that we didn't physically meet them. And so therefore we should not be stamping their passports or anywhere on their form that needs certifying, because we did not get the originals of these documents and we didn't see the person. So that you say no. Okay, and normally you get a rating of 20, the highest rating when you say no. If you say yes, there'll probably be 0. And so then all of these add up together and give you an overall rating. And then there should be a legend that tells you between 0 to 30, it's low risk. between 31 to 50 is medium risk, and between 50 and 100 over, it's high risk. Okay. Give me some feedback, please. Are we understanding the risk rating and how it works? So each customer that comes into the bank and wants to be onboarded, they are risk rated. And this is just an example. Like I say, you can use scoring of data because we had systemically, the regulators are saying this scoring is always off. Okay. And so this sheet should be twofold. It should be completed by the compliance department, and then the accounting department should check these scorings, because these scorings are various formulas. Okay. And a lot of times they say that the risk rating is old. You could see this says 218 in 2022, or this appears as a version of 216. All the laws changed in 218. So in 2022, we should not be using this version of this, the risk rating. Another issue is that 5 of us complete risk ratings and we just email this around. And so there's something called end user computing or micros that are picked up in an Excel sheet. And so sometimes the formulas fall out. And so here it is, we risk rating, we have this nice sheet, but the formulas in the back are not working. Or the Bahamas has been deficient in the risk rating for the last 7 years, and we don't realize that the Bahamas updated their risk rating and they have a new rating now. Okay, because we're not doing our research. But each year, what we should do is go to the Basel Committee, and they have an Excel version of this, and make sure we copy and paste the correct ratings to our sheet. But like I say, we didn't update this sheet from 216, so it's the 216 rating. So we don't even know that Russia is sanctioned right now by the world. We don't know that the Bahamas, when their last assessment, is now low risk or now high risk, right? So you have to update your methodologies. You have to check your forms. You have to make sure that you are not emailing around and nobody's checking those formulas, okay? You have to make sure that those formulas remain and they are working properly. Because when the regulator comes in, that's the type of things that they check. We noticed that you said this person is from Russia. Russia on this list right now, let's see where Russia is on the map. I don't even know where Russia is. Where Russia is. Anybody know? Ah, there we go. Russia is right there at 5.49%. Do you think they are high risk now? So this means that they are medium. They actually had a lower rating than us. Do you think after this war and they are sanctioned that they, when this is updated for 2023, that Russia will still be medium? Anybody? No. You all are there? Okay.
No, Mom.
Right.
No.
So this is the importance. This is the importance of ensuring that your data is checked annually, because each year they, not right now, because this is March. I mean, sorry, this is April, and the war going on now, and all these sanctions just come out. They are not going to immediately just change the scoring, but at the end of the year, each year it's assessed and say no dates are sanctioned. So now we are going to put them as a high risk country, and a lot of countries won't do business with them. Okay, so this is the importance of making sure that your methodology, all your information that you're getting from outside sources are up to date and correct. And then being able to explain, where do you get the information from nationality? We get it from the Basel Committee. Where do you get the information from for domicile? We also get that from the Basel Committee. So there are 5 or 6 sectors or categories that we get: nationality, professional sector, country of work. All of that come from the Basel Committee. You may want to go with Transparency International. We use both Transparency and the Basel Committee. Okay, some persons, some companies use CPI index. This is an old version, but in my last recommendation to the board, I said I told them the story of how I had sent the wires to pay the salaries in Russia and Madagascar and Kuwait 1 week, and the next week I was told they don't do business with a CPI index less than 30. So I said, I think we need to put the CPI index in there as a part of the risk rating. So when we do the reviews, because remember now, the end result of this is if you are high risk, you are reviewed annually. If you are low risk, you then are reviewed every 3 years. And if you are medium, every 2 years. And so therefore, year 1, when you open the account, your CPI index was above, or it was 28. However, the law has changed and we no longer do business. So it would not make sense for us to even open this account for you because we can't send any wires. Correct? You are very quiet.
Yeah.
So tell me, give me some feedback. Do you understand risk rating?
Ms. Bullard, I have a question about, there's a section in the chapter that speaks about once a risk class has been assigned to a client, then a tolerance level is applied, right?
Yes.
And so I'm just trying to get clarity on what is meant by the tolerance level. Is it that it's based on the level of, I guess, due diligence that would be applied? Like if a client is low risk, then if a client is low risk, then it speaks about how often you should probably monitor this client's profile, or I'm just not certain. I'm not clear on this tolerance level.
Okay, what page is that on?
It was on, let me see, page 51.
Page 51, okay, let's see.
I don't know if you have the same book as I do, but it's under, the topic is relative risk weights and results score contributions.
Okay,
and then
yeah,
it's
so
further down.
that speaks to this section of the transactional activity and initial deposit in the account. So what happens is some systems, and I always say, go out and find out what type of system you have, how does it support you if you have to do anything manually. And so it is talking about in terms of money, you know, because these again are just approximations, right? To give you an idea, to have some system in place, a framework in place to assist you with anti-money laundering. So it says that if somebody is expected to bring in $50,000, right? And you could apply, you don't have to be hard and fast with them with the $50,000. You can say, if you bring in, we apply a 25% tolerance level in the system for you. So today you may bring in 50,000 and tomorrow you may bring in 75,000. We ain't gonna call you and block your account and say you outside of your profile for the, you know, the extra 25,000, because even though we verified you for that amount, you know, sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down. So you could go increase that amount by 25% before we call you in, and you know what I mean? So it's just so you don't get constant hits, because if you look at the system in the back, if you say you could bring in $50,000 and you bring in $50,001, we could get a hit. We have to take time, investigate that to find out why you bring in that extra dollar. So don't, you said, I mean, we will constantly be checking hits. So therefore we put a threshold, like
Okay.
up, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we ain't gonna be hard and fast with your numbers because we know they approximately are bringing 75,000.
So if you are at a low risk, then you have up to 80% more tolerance level to go beyond your threshold.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But we don't tell you that.
Okay.
That's just internally so that we don't constantly be checking hits all day long. or we don't be questioning $1, you know. But if you then go bring in $1 million, then of course we'll get an alert.
Okay.
Yeah, but that, like I said, that depends on the company. That's discretionary. And again, it's a part of your methodology. So when you're sitting down with the auditor and you explain it to them how the system works, they'll say, well, Ms. Bullard, this person said they would bring in 50,000, but I see you allowing them to bring in 75. And then you explain, well, we have a tolerance percentage in there that allows them to bring in, you know, because we would have verified them for that amount or around that amount. Again, they only want you to be able to explain or document the decisions that you have made. And they will tell you yes or no, we agree with it. But if you can't explain it and it's not documented, then you get an audit note. Okay? So the whole point now is speak knowledgeably to it, especially, like I say, we can't eliminate risk, we can only mitigate risk. This is a mitigation risk by we are going to risk rate approximately the risk we think the business will be susceptible to by opening up this account. Okay, but it has to make sense. The scoring has to be correct. And like I say, a lot of times the scoring is not correct. Or information is missing, or the sheet is manipulated because sales persons, they don't want to do the review. They don't want to do the enhanced due diligence. And so how they write up the documents, they manipulate the documents so that they can ensure that their customer comes out low or medium. And we have one particular salesperson, all his customers low risk, and some of them in Russia. So you know that's a lie, right? Okay, are we understanding risk rating? And then, like I said, you want a policy to go along with it to ensure that you explain the entire sheet and how it works and where you get the information from. And I think that's where a lot of companies are lacking. How is it determined? Now, luckily for clients, we don't share this information with our clients, like how the Basel Committee is sharing it, their methodology with countries. Of course, countries are going to argue. No country wants to be high risk, and so they tell you up front, but with clients, we don't share it. And normally with salespersons, we don't share it because the more information you give them, the more they try to manipulate the form so their client does not come out as high risk. So you want to make sure that your methodology is current, that it isn't easily manipulated, and you want to check. And like I said, I tell people I am a compliance officer. I don't have a CPA. Let the accounts department do the scoring part, especially since it's always wrong. Let them sign off on it. You know, because again, as a part of your risk framework, your risk assessment, your risk appetite, and your risk rating has to go to your regulator and be approved. And this is what they do. They turn it upside down. They create a fake customer and see if it's going to come out as high risk and make sure, you know, that the scoring and everything is correct before they approve it. Okay, is that clear? You're very, very quiet. You're there.
Yes, Ms. Bullard.
And let me tell you, I joined the class this week for, you know, support of some of my nieces and nephews, just to make sure they are diligent and they understand, you know. And so now I know how it is to be the student. Miss Bullard was cooking a whole meal in the middle of that class, and the lady was calling my name, and I was like, yes, I'm here. And I forget to mute my mic. I say, don't let my rice burn. I had to run back, so I understand how it is. Now I know how it is to be a student, and I be like, why I call Justine name and Justine and answer me, and I marking Justine absent right away. So You're like, sorry for being so harsh. Now I know how it is to be a student on this online. And one teacher, he say, please turn on your camera. If your camera is not on, you are absent. Okay. And so me and my niece were sharing one camera, and he said, no, you need separate cameras because I can't see your name. So I added a name. He said, no. And he keep calling my name. He said, Miss Bullet, I cannot see you. Are you in this class? I said, yes, sir. So I know it is now. I know it is. But you'll still have to pay attention to me and pass this class. Okay, so I need y'all to prove that y'all understand this before I make y'all turn on these cameras so I mark y'all accent. No way. Donna, I didn't hear from you today. How you doing today? You there?
I'm here. I just can't do too much of talking.
Okay. All right, but Donna, let me let you talk for 5 seconds.
I cannot talk for 5. I cannot do it. I cannot do it.
You can't talk for 5 seconds, Donna?
No, I can't do it.
Next week, camera on and everything. Okay, Donna.
I am not feeling well.
Okay, Gwen, help Donna out, Gwen. Tell me what you know about risk. Or start with the risk rating. I want to make sure you all understand that before we move on. Tell me about risk, Gwen. This risk rating.
Oh, you kind of caught me off guard. Sorry. Sorry. So what am I telling you about?
About this
risk rating?
Yeah. What are the categories? The classwork question says the categories on a risk rating form.
The categories on the risk rating. Are you referring to the high, medium, and low?
No.
Or can somebody help me? Can I ask for help?
Sure. Let's look at the screen. Let the screen help you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there you go. So the different categories for the risk rating form, thank you, would be client relation, is that correct?
No, let's look at the
nationality, domicile, professional sector, business activity, country of work.
Right. Type of account,
operational risk, special risk, transaction activity, initial deposit, future deposit, total assets under management expected, and met with beneficial owners.
Right. And so they are some of the key categories. Again, it'll be tailored to your business, but that is what your chapter 7 homework is asking you. What are the categories? So you want to list 2 or 3 of the categories and then just explain them a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Very good, Gwen. Who else is there? So Jade, what can you tell us about risk rating, risk appetite, risk on the whole?
Risk appetite is a company's approach to the types of risk, or the company's approach to the risk that it takes on. And companies should, I guess, use a risk-based approach. I know that the 4 steps in identifying and assessing risks according to the ISO, International Organization for Standardization, is risk identification, which talks about the company's exposure to risks, risk analysis, risk evaluation, whether a company decides to accept a risk or transfer it or avoid it.
What would be transferring? Give me an example of transferring.
Is it transferring it to the reinsurance? Is that a type?
Yes, okay. Insurance, yeah.
Okay.
Indemnity insurance.
Right. And the treatment that they put in place, types of controls that are put in place, and yeah, the types of
very good, very good, and definitely you can use that for one of your essays, because like I said, 4 chapters to risk, 10 questions. You of course, if you choose to answer risk on the final exam, there'll be minimum 2 questions on risk. So very good, Jade. Jasmine, what do you have to say about risk? That's money in there. Okay, Justine.
Right,
Oh,
here,
I
look.
thought everybody gone. Justine.
Okay, okay, like what I understand about risk is basically like risk appetite or the risk rating is basically how we risk rate our clients when we get into business with them to see what type of threat they would pose to the business, with the risk level being low, medium, or high, based on the type of products or services that we offer. So basically knowing your customer and to see or understand the potential threat they would bring to the business, and if that would be a client that we would want to do business with.
Okay, very good, Justine. Give me a high risk product.
High risk product, a high risk product.
Yeah, this customer walks into the bank and they say, I want this type of an account. The book talks about it.
Hold on, I lost Mr. Lad.
Let me see if my page is the same as yours.
High risk.
High risk products 37, the bottom of 37.
Okay.
It might be 38.
Okay, like okay, trust and corporate services.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Correspondent banking.
Private banking and wealth management.
Yeah. Bearer shares. All of those are high risk products.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
What are bearer shares, Ms. Bullitt?
Okay. Bearer shares are transferable shares without it having to go through the registry to be registered. And so I can just I open an account at Commonwealth Bank, a company account, and my share certificate is to bearer. So that means I can write in, I transfer this to Ben Laden. So the account is at Commonwealth Bank in Ms. Bullitt's name. However, she transferred that to Ben Laden. And so I don't even know that Ben Laden now owns the account and he is doing transactions through the account. So years ago, the Bahamas stopped because again, that was one of the categories that made the Bahamas high risk. So the Bahamas stopped issuing bearer shares. Each share now has to be registered. You have a shareholders registry and you have to take that to the registrar general and they write it down. Now there's a beneficial owners bank and everything where they say this belongs to Jade and Miss Bullitt. They can't just pass it on to Ben Laden without coming to the registry. And of course, if we come to the registry and say we want to sell our shares to Ben Laden, what the registry you say? No way, right?
Sorry, repeat the question.
If we go to the registry and say we want to sell our shares to Ben Laden, what they say?
Oh, okay.
No way, right?
No.
Right, right. And so that's the difference between registered shares and bearer shares. Bearer means I could just transfer it over. So whilst the Bahamas stop issuing bearer shares, we still can open up bearer share accounts. So I think it used to be Panama. Panama just stopped issuing them in 2018. And so what we had to do is go look at all of our Panamanian company accounts and call them in and said, you have 90 days to close this account or you have to go and register your shares. And that way they wasn't able to turn it over without being registered and verified. And again,
okay,
we talking about due diligence. The registry, the department should have a due diligence section to make sure that Ben Laden, Ben Laden brought up, right? Because they register in shares.
Okay.
Okay. But the central bank says if, like, I think Grenada still does it, and we have an account somewhere, like one of those 8 Caribbean countries, we have an account, but the central bank says if you accept bearer shares from another country, you have to have 2 letters in place. A letter of understanding from the owner of the shares and a nominee agreement and understanding from the holder of the shares. So if a company is holding the shares and it says Jade Hall and Co., we need to know who the shareholders of Jade Hall and Co. are, and they have to confirm to the bank that I am holding these shares on behalf of Jade, and I promise to let the bank know before I transfer them. So that's a control they have in place if you are going to accept bearer shares, because that's very high risk. So in your portfolio, if 50% of your business is bearer shares, then of course your business can be high risk. So that's another thing that they want to control, that you not have too many bearer share accounts, because then overall your business will be high risk. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Jasmine, you back yet? No?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Sorry
so
about that.
Jasmine,
Yes,
tell us something about risk.
okay. I have it written down somewhere. Okay, your risk assessment, the risk assessment framework and methodology should include clearly setting out how it works, leverage international and external information, easy updates, explainable and obtainable to staff on the business. Sorry, in the business. I don't know what that's saying. So it should you should have. Yeah, business unit. There you go. Thank you very much, darling. So you should be able to clearly identify the risk, and you're supposed to be able to do your risk evaluation on it, your risk assessment on it, and your risk treatment. So you should be able to, when you win it, like if you have if your company, like, because the question asked the last classwork, if you introducing a new, and this is what I was supposed to ask you about, Miss Bullet. It says if you're introducing a new product to your company, you may have been asked to do to do a risk assessment on the product, right? But it says something to say if your customer resides in Cyprus, South America, or Uganda, discuss the steps. So I want to know the relevance with those three countries. Like they.
Well, you already know that where to find the country risk rating, right?
Yes, I know with the methodology.
Okay, so
I know.
you do. What should
Yeah,
you
I
do?
know where to find it. Yeah.
So what should you do since you know where to find it?
Like going, or you to go. Yeah, but so I'm saying, okay, so I should have gone. That's what I was looking at, and then I'm trying to answer that question.
What is Cyprus and who else?
And South Africa.
Okay, this South Africa, right?
Yeah.
You see these ratings, right?
Yeah.
So what that means, they what?
They medium risk. That's what this one I risk. This one I risk.
Right. So therefore, you should do what on a high risk account?
You have to do if it's a high risk account. I would have to do. I can't hear you. You have to do your due diligence, and you have to.
No, not your due diligence.
Enhanced due diligence.
Enhanced.
Right.
All right, so you should do your enhanced due diligence, and do the proper risk assessment for the do all the back, because I answered the question on my thing. I'm like answering the questions. I was like I say, forgive me, my mind all over the place this morning. With the enhanced due diligence, I was thinking you have to do a background check, with the like you say, at the company, at the country level, at the company level, and at the client level.
Yeah, but now they specifically give you country, so you at the country level, and so you know that if it's a high risk country, you do an enhanced due diligence. Right. And so what it say? Do a training?
No, it's Pardon me?
What the question say?
It says your company will be introducing a new product to its clients in 2 months. You have been asked to select a product and conduct a risk assessment, considering that it will be offered to your client who resides in Cyprus, South America, and Uganda. Discuss the steps you would take to complete this assignment. That's what the question says.
Okay. Yeah. So primarily you will talk about then if you're dealing with the African clients, Africa is already high risk. And if they're doing bearer shares, then that's already high risk. So overall, more than likely, those customers would be high risk. You know, so you would say we will conduct enhanced due diligence on those set of customers. Then you won't go over to South America, and you say primarily the countries in South America are low risk, and so we can do simplified due diligence if they don't have, you know, a high risk product. So basically, they're just trying to see if you could identify the products or services that will be high risk, and then what you should do. Okay. So some would be low risk and some would be high risk. What do you do? What would you train your people
to do due diligence on the country, and but
on the risk?
Pardon?
Based on their risk rating.
Yeah, based on their risk
rating, right? So you would say the countries in South America are low risk, so they should be subjected to simplified if they get a low risk product. However, if they get a high risk product, you would need to determine whether they come out low or high. You see what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
So how do we elaborate on that question, Ms. Bullitt, in terms of, we're saying if it's simplified, whether it's low risk, or enhanced, whether it's high risk, but I mean, do we have to go into detail as to say, okay, what enhanced due diligence steps are you taking?
No, you could give one example. For example, I will not only word check, I will word check LexisNexis, or I'll have the board approved. You know what I mean? Or I would Google check as well. Okay. You see what I mean? Like that. Or you could say if they get a low risk, if it's from Brazil or which kind of Colombia, and they get a savings account, we will just carry out simplified due diligence. If they are from Colombia, but they get trust or private banking and wealth management or correspondent banking services, then if that takes them over the low risk median, then we will conduct enhanced due diligence on them. So it just depends. So remember, it's not only the country that can make you high risk. You could have a high risk country, but a low risk product, and then you still come out low risk. Then you could have a high risk country and a high risk, then you automatically come out high risk. So there's no one fits all, you know, one size fits all approach. If you have high risk products and services and high risk country, more than likely you will come out overall high risk, and enhanced due diligence will be carried out. If you are low risk country with high risk products and services and you come out medium, we still go do simplify. But if you are low risk with high risk products and services and you come out overall high risk, then we still have to do enhanced due diligence on you. You see, so there are various scenarios. And so depending on what happens at the end, when you add up all your scores, this is what determines what happens, whether we do simplified or enhanced.
So simplified due diligence is just obtaining all of your, like, I guess, like KYC documents on the onset of the business relationship and then assessing them every 3 years. Is there anything else in the simplified due diligence?
No. It's only when you take the extra steps, and you could say the compliance officer can approve these accounts. We do the world check and we get source of income. On enhanced, we get source of wealth. The AML committee approves or the board approves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Bullitt, question for in relation to this too. If they're asking for training, is it just simply well, the training will do enhanced or simplified depending on the different factors just said, or is it that we also have to go into, okay, we'll monitor this because of this, and like for 3 years, or we'll monitor this yearly depending on their risk rating, and then when we onboard them, we would get from this high risk person more identification and verification. Is that all a part of it, or is only the enhanced or simplified due diligence?
Yeah, the whole point is to show that just because you have a high risk country does not mean overall you'll be high risk. Or just because you have a low risk country does not mean that you would automatically be low risk. You see, so people tend to think that there's a high risk jurisdiction, so they high risk. So we want you to understand it's a combination of product, services, transactional activity, the accounts that determines your overall risk. It's just not one factor in the, you know, in the relationship that makes you high risk. And I normally say, if all of the persons on the account are low risk, but one person is high risk, the account is high risk. And if you are on the Royal Bank of Canada account and you are high risk, but you have your own account and you are low risk, no, you are still high risk because you are on that Royal Bank of Canada account that makes you high risk. And we have a lot of people like that are in association with PEPs or what have you. And so that's what makes them high risk. You always take the highest rating from whomever is the highest risk rated person on the account. Okay, so you have the link accounts. A lot of times we don't even know that Ms. Bullet on the church account, Royal Bank account, and she have her own account. And it's the same person. So all of that is a part of knowing your client. Because I hear, oh, Ms. Bullet low risk on her own savings, but she on this company account that always having a problem and always been a PEP on it. No, she high risk. You can't have two different separate ratings, but some businesses do that. Or some companies don't simply notice the same as Bullet.
So Ms. Bullet, so on the exam, if a question like this presents,
the country risk ratings would be there.
So we're supposed to familiarize ourselves with all these CPI indexes with these different countries, or are they going to have that on exam, like a map or something?
No, you would, if the country risk rating and a legend is there, you would know what is high, medium, or low, or it'll say this country is high, medium, or low.
Okay.
Yeah, but you don't have to remember okay. Information seeking and where do I find a country risk rating? You should know you go into the Basel Committee or Transparency International. That's why I keep showing you all the map. Keep showing you know what I mean? And that's why I want you all to practice, making sure you all understand the homework questions and making sure, because a lot of times people don't do well because they simply don't even know what the question is asking. Or they start off and each question has like 3 parts. They start off answering the first part and then the other two, they just forget and fall right off because we're not checking back over to make sure we answer all the parts. We'll talk about, they have 3 countries. We're talking about South America and Africa because I can remember Ms. Bullet showed starting class, but Ms. Bullet didn't show us Cyprus. So I don't even know about Cyprus. So I can't answer that. But they very, like I say, if you understand, it's very easy to answer. Yes, of course, we should know 100% about simplified and enhanced due diligence by now. Correct?
Agreed.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And again, for years, and don't take it lightly, for years, people say, oh, we use a risk-based approach. Ask them to explain it, they can't explain it. So what do you do? And that's the first thing I do. So what do you do for enhanced due diligence? They can't tell me a thing. They look at me cross-eyed, Ms. Bullet, I'll get back to you. But just the basics of customer due diligence, and I talking about these VPs, these people who've been in the bank 20 years. They say all these words, all these acronyms and stuff, they can't explain it. You work the Scotia Bank, they say the FBP, the CDR, the QRS, the TUB, ask them what it is. They can't tell you. Scotia Bank have so much acronyms there, they do an acronym sheet. You must have more than 200 acronyms Did you talk to them? The ABC and the EDF and the whatever. Excuse me, what is the ABC? They don't know. Okay, so you need to know and speak knowledgeably to these systems. How does the system work? They don't know. And that's exactly why Volkswagen was able to defraud the world, because people just did not know. Okay, Lee Barnaby, tell me something about risk.
Hi.
How you doing today? Tell me something about the risk, please.
I'm okay. I know risk is determined by the type of client or customer that you take on based on their region and stuff like that. No?
Sorry, you say it's determined by?
The client, the type of company the client has in the region or jurisdiction in which the company is based, if it's international and stuff like that.
Correct, yeah. So again, we take all of this KYC information in, and then based on what you provide, we determine if you're high, medium, or low. Right?
Right.
Okay. Okay, very good, very good. Mikhail?
All right, so with risk, I know that a risk-based approach.
I can't hear you.
Hi, hello, Ms. Bullock, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Right, so I was saying with a risk-based, with risk, we know that a risk-based approach is one of the 40 recommendations of the FATF.
Which one?
Is that number 15?
Number one.
No.
No, number one?
Yes, number
15
one.
is the one with the customer due diligence. I really only know 1 and 15. Right,
Okay.
so it is number 1. Number 15, like I said, which I guess goes in tandem with it, is the customer due diligence. But yeah, so they prefer that over a tick the box method. And with the risk-based approach, you want to, like you all have already said, you want to be assigning a risk rating of high, medium, or low to the customer, to the company, and to their region in which they operate or they reside. Based on those individual ratings, again, high, medium, or low, then you would determine the level of due diligence you need to employ. So for obviously, if the combination between those things come out to being low, then you would just do your standard due diligence. But if because of those individual factors, you end up with an overall risk rating of like high, then definitely you would do enhanced due diligence, and that could be like asking them for like extra identification, or instead of just source of income, you might also ask them for source of wealth. I know again if you do get a risk rating of high, again you might also say, well, you know what, because reviewing the accounts is still a part of the risk-based approach. So for high rated accounts, you might review those annually versus something that is low risk. Maybe you'll just do that like every 3 years.
Okay, right. Very good, very good. Make sure you can write that in an essay. Oh, you know, because you can say it, but then
yeah, I know.
it makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Odia?
Okay, morning again. So the risk rating sheet is the, I guess, one of the more easier topics for me, because that determines whether a customer is high, medium, or low. And so some of the factors on those sheets that would determine that would be the physical identity of the customer. So, and we gather that information from documents that the customer provides. We look at the type of account, the type of activity, the geographical location. All of these things are what really determines the risk rating of them being low, medium, or high. Simplified, of course, simplified due diligence is just the basic information that you get from the customer in terms of the physical identity. But when you move into the enhanced due diligence is when you go into source of wealth and ask for additional information.
Okay, very good. If you had the risk rate country, what are the categories that you would use?
We would use low, medium, and high as well. And this,
no,
sorry?
the methodology, in the
Oh,
methodology.
the 5 domains? You mean the 5 domains?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And this class actually brought it because I was really confused on those 5 domains. And so now I think I understand it a bit better, particularly with the question, I think 4 and 5 that somebody brought up. So I'm now connecting the dots in terms of when you look at the country level, we'll look at Basel Committee, and then we'll talk about the country's risk from that perspective, looking at the map. And so we'll look at all of the domains, right?
Yeah, so give me a category under a domain.
We'd say if we look at the CPI index.
Look at your screen.
Right, so if we focus on number 2, we'd determine if the corruption index in that country, we'd say, okay, 5.9, that's medium, right?
No, corruption is between 100 and 0. So the corruption perception index would be 65, 66 for Bahamas.
Okay.
Yeah, but the risk assessment would be like the 5.9 to 6 point, so you always have to look at their legend.
Okay. So I was a bit confused about that, and it's becoming a little bit more clearer after today when we look at what they'll be asking us with that map. I might have been way off on that answer. So I think it's becoming a little bit more clear. Not fully clear,
This is
a little bit more.
Okay. This is the score for the Bahamas. This is the score that we will generate at the end of all the checks and balances, right? The 6 point something, this is the legend. So it's between 10 and 0. High is 10, low, and this is the legend right here. This is the rating that we do not want to get high, the Bahamas risk rating. Okay, CPI index is one of the categories that are checked. So facilitate this in domain 2. It contributes 5% to your overall risk rating for the Bahamas. That's one of the categories. Remember, your homework asks you, what is a category on the client side? So if it asks you what is a category on the country side, you would say FATF mutual evaluation reports, tax justice network, transparency, any one of these you would quote. Political and legal risks. Okay, so these are the categories that countries are risk rated on. The sheet is the category which clients, this is what clients are risk rated on.
Okay.
Clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Clearer.
Clearer. Okay. Like I tell you, as we talk about it more, it becomes clearer. Okay. Very good. Tamron?
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
Okay, give us some points on this.
I can't really talk much. I had a family viewing. I do apologize.
I didn't hear you.
I'm at a family viewing. I can't really talk.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Tennille?
Let me see. The risk-based, I know the risk-based approach is used by an institution, and it depends on the institution risk appetite. The institution risk appetite calls for an institution to assess all levels of their institution. Once identified, then they should apply a rate or risk appetite, them being high, medium, and low. And from then, I guess controls would be applied to that customer or that legal person. Either it'll be simplified or it'll be enhanced. Then you would look at listings. You would look at the sanctions list. You would look at customer sanctions list. Other lists is what are the lists? I guess customer risks to see what are, if they are on any of those, and then you would put high, medium, and low. And I guess that's about it, unless you want to know anything else in particular. That's what I know so far.
Okay, you said something, risk appetite. Now, don't get confused. You say, tell me what risk appetite is again.
Risk appetite, it calls for no, I was saying that it calls for an institution to assess all levels of their institution. So that's how they would determine, or no?
When you think about appetite, think about eating. I like pizza, I don't like chicken.
Also, is what
Okay?
is what
That's
the company is willing to take on?
Yeah, what
Okay.
what type of business they are dealing with? Are they going to do high risk jurisdictions? Are they going to do high risk products and services? Are they going to do PEPs? Do we have an appetite for PEPs? No, we don't. So we won't open that account. So that's appetite.
Okay, so I
always
changed.
remember food, and then you say, we don't want no chicken, we want pizza.
So I can ask you a question, Ms. Bullet. Okay, so for institutions that take on persons who are on the sanction list or persons who are PEP, then they're just saying, I guess, to the community at large, we acknowledge the risk and we just take it on and we have controls in place then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But then we have people like me in the background saying, listen, you don't want to be overall high risk. Remember, there's a risk rating at the company level that the regulators carry out. And if we are a high risk company, then we'll be subjected to enhanced due diligence. So I always tell them, listen, we already have 30% high risk. We can't take on another high risk. So even though the person may be legit, I still have to decline the account and we can't open it because overall it would push the company into a high risk status, and the company, the board has to agree that we are now risk rated as medium. We'll be subjected to high risk, and that's a lot of money. Remember, that's a lot more work. That's enhanced due diligence. So sometimes the client may be legit, but we just can't take on another PEP, or we just can't take on another bearer share account or correspondent banking account unless we willing to take on enhanced due diligence. And almost nobody will take on high risk because you have a lot of banks that they just simply don't do business with high risk companies. Not only that, you have the Basel correspondent banks. They say, what percentage of your business is high risk? Oil and gas, jewelry, bearer shares? No, we won't open this account for you. Then the fee is associated with enhanced due diligence. And the regulators are not there yet, but the regulators are now saying we're going to put your audits in line with your risk rating. So if you are high risk, you could be audited every year. Could you imagine that, Tania? I mean, auditors take up 6 months right now. And you just have to stop your work and focus on the auditors. So you will continuously be in audit mode. So they haven't implemented that as yet, but they are suggesting that happens. And I know my financial audit from Deloitte & Touche, it costs $150,000. So who paying for that every year? You know what I mean? So yeah, so all of it depends. Yeah, you have to be strategic about the decisions that you make. Because like I say, we used to get away with it in the past, but now regulators are enforcing. So no more slaps on the wrist. No more, we didn't know. No more, we could pay later and never pay. Okay, so very good. Everybody seems to be aware and knowledgeable and understanding of risk. I have a basic overview. So like I say, we'll talk about it some more. It's gonna get clearer. Next week, we're gonna move on to the suspicious transaction report, how to fill that out, what information is required, and then move into how do you cooperate with authorities. Okay, so we almost there. 3 more weeks. So try and make some notes on by now from the chapters that have passed. You need 4 essays. We already know what the mandatory one is. If you haven't started to read those cases at the back of the book, please read them. You're going to need them. If you haven't done your research on if these things happen in the Bahamas, please do that. And like I said, the key is really to be organized. So you have a big Easter holiday weekend coming up, and Miss Bullet all about the party, right? I want you, I know you're looking forward to it and you'll want to enjoy it. But one day out of the 4 days, yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, relax and wine, go to church, do whatever makes you feel good, but take half of one of those days and try and catch yourself up. And so you're not so overwhelmed at the end. It's just a suggestion. Okay? So y'all do well and y'all have a great week, and we'll see you again next week. Any other questions or concerns?
I know that one of the classmates always asks, like, when are you going to send papers in? So if we send in homework questions over the holiday, we know you're not going to look at the holiday.
And y'all know Miss Bullet back done packed.
I'm not even suggesting you look in. I'm just saying.
Miss Bullet done packed. Okay? My boat in the water, we watching this weather to see if we're going on this boat or we going to the airport. That's where Miss Bullet at right now. I was praying just to make it through this class. My vacation done starts.
If we send it within that holiday.
No class next week? Sorry.
Is
that, are you saying no class next week?
No, we have a class. We be short and sweet, suspicious transaction report, back to our holiday.
Just checking.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless y'all want to do it Thursday nights, it's up to y'all. But if you do it short and quick on Saturday morning, whatever y'all want to do, it's up to y'all.
I guess we could discuss in a group with everyone free on Thursday and then do it for like an hour and a half. It'll cut some time down if everyone.
That's fine. Thursday night is fine. Yeah.
Me too, because I need my whole weekend.
Yeah, that's
that sounds good actually.
Okay, so Thursday night we'll start at 6 and we'll end at 7:30, and y'all will know.
Beautiful.
Good stuff.
Y'all don't even have to worry, but me tell the following week.
Wonderful.
Everybody on board. Is there anybody who's not on board with Thursday from 6 to 9?
I'll put it in the group now.
Put it in the WhatsApp group.
Thursday from 6 to 9?
Or
no,
6 to 7:30.
6 to 7:30.
Oh, okay.
That's
7:30 is good. Thanks.
That's fine. 6 to 7:30.
Yeah.
Y'all good? Nobody object? Okay, y'all put it in your WhatsApp group.
I got it. All right, so I can put it in the group right now, and that'll be it.
Okay, and so y'all let me know if send me an email, Jasmine, if anybody objects. And then you could put a reminder on it so everybody will know Thursday, 6, and Miguel will send out the link,
Email.
But it'll be the same link here.
Okay.
Okay, good. So y'all can have a fabulous weekend.
You too.
Okay, and we'll see you Thursday.
Yes, sir. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.